blesses whoever hears this, so that your soul might be saved. He said, "Hey, Reed, why don't you go there and stick your head inside that noose and act like you're dead, and I'll take the last picture." He grabbed the knot and slammed it down around my throat. So I immediately, just shocked, I just stood up, and I turned and faced my body, which was hanging from that noose. My other foot inside my foot, and I sat down just like I'm sitting now. I looked back and saw how my body was laying and how my head was positioned, so I just leaned back into my body. Leaning back, and as soon as my head falls inside my head, I'm instantaneously standing up, and I'm in complete darkness. Before I could even think another thought, I was snatched up off of my feet by a very, very large demon. It played over and over in my head again. It's taking me to hell, it's taking me to hell, it's taking me to hell. Nothing I could do to stop it, nothing I could do to prevent it. And his hand was reaching down to me, and it was an angel. My hand just reached up and grabbed its hand. Myself, this is wrong. I'm not a bad guy. I've never murdered anyone. I've never molested any children. I've never raped any women or done anything just drastic that would cause you to be placed in hell for sure. For me, I was just an average person. I drank a few beers, smoked a few cigarettes. I wasn't like into drugs or anything like that. I mean, I was just an average guy. I go to church every once in a while, so I didn't really picture myself as bad. And you don't have to be a bad person to go to hell. All you have to do is just be average. God doesn't call us to be average. He calls us to be holy, like He is. Because I know where in the middle gets you. It gets you in the same place that being fully against Him gets you. It's kind of like He said in Revelations 3:20, "I wish that you were all the way for me or all the way against me, but because you were in the middle, because you were lukewarm, I spit you out." Now I don't want to be that again. I don't want to go back to hell. I know it's there, and I know the place is not made for us. It was made for them, and we just unfortunately do not realize the reality of the place. The reality of the place is far worse than you can imagine, and I only experienced a taste of it. While this is playing over and over and over in my head that it's taking me to hell, and I saw this pinpoint of light, light appeared, and I looked up at it. It looked like a star far off in the night sky, something so tiny and insignificant and far away that it couldn't possibly help me. And then I saw it moved off to the left a little bit, and I picked my eyes up, in my head up, and I looked at it, and I thought to myself, did we just change direction, or did it move? And it went back to the right, and I thought for myself, no, for certain, we didn't change direction, it moved. And I thought to myself, well, what is that? And as I thought that, and began to focus in on it, it just came rushing at me like the only way I can describe it is the speed of this thing was like a bolt of lightning. It came at me so fast that one moment it was just like a tiny little star in the night sky, and the next minute, bright, blinding white light.
So now, welcome back to our Welcome back to our channel, Private Spiritual Investigators. This is part 2 Sean Weed's experience of being forced out of his body because he was hung in a noose.
Right, accidentally hung by two other friends in the Marines. And so he's been talking about how that happened. And then what happened after that is what he begins talking about here. And he talks about himself as being an average guy, doesn't understand why he's drug off to heaven.
But he says he's in hell. And what is he doing here? Because he was just an average guy. He didn't do anything bad.
Right.
He didn't hit David like this or anything.
Or Michael like that.
Didn't do that. So
that comes later.
That's serious karma. You start fooling with David and Mike,
Yeah, right. I mean, we are private spiritual investigators.
There's a severe penalty.
We have a badge behind us that you can see.
And we could sell it too.
We may be selling them. That may be the only money we ever make. So be that as it may.
Getting back to Sean, he's a dim light.
Who's Sean?
Not because we say it's a dim light. He said he's a dim light.
He perceives it within himself, eventually determines it's coming from himself, and it's only dim. He's an average guy, dim light.
Barely coming from himself.
Right.
And he describes himself as being lukewarm.
And he suggests, and he quotes the Bible at one point where, I believe it's in Revelation, where God says, because you're neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. So God appears to be saying, if you're lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. And maybe that's what got him in trouble.
And I think that's what do you mean it got him in trouble?
Well, with this demon.
Because he was lukewarm?
Yeah, he likes his food lukewarm. That's all bad demons
Well, I
do.
mean, it's true. You get soup, you don't want lukewarm soup. You want you just want hot soup usually. But so what is the point of being lukewarm or hot or cold?
Wait a minute, we have a point.
Well, there's always a point. We're always going to, it could be a shallow point or a hollow point, but it's always a point that we're going to. So the point of being lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, which is in the Bible, is because the reason I want to bring that out is because God can work with, or you can work with, say you're going up to a guy and you want him to help you somehow, and he goes, well, maybe I can, maybe I won't. And you go, okay, well, can you help me or can't you? Well, I don't know if I can or not. It's and you're going, well, okay, make a choice. And so that's what God is saying with you're neither hot nor cold. You got to make a choice so that he can then work with you. You can't be a jellyfish, right?
I don't want to be a jellyfish.
No, and Sean doesn't want to be a jellyfish, but he's finding he is kind of a jellyfish. He's neither not nor hot nor cold. He's just an average guy, and he finds himself, as he said, that it doesn't take to doing something bad to be in hell. It just takes to being lukewarm or like a jellyfish or a bowl of soup that's been sitting out for half a day.
And as he is in this description, he is being dragged off to hell by this 13-foot demon who is dragging him off very fast. And while he's being dragged off, he's looking up, sees a pinpoint of light. It's like a star and a great distance away from him. And what happens then? Well,
he's being dragged off, and he's looking at this pinpoint of light, and then he sees it moves, and he goes, did we change direction, or did it move? And he goes, no, it moved. And when he put his attention on it with a lickety-split.
Right, he says, and then he began to focus on it after he saw it moving back and forth, which he hadn't noticed before. And as soon as he focused on it, all of a sudden, at the speed of light, this light comes toward him and just bursts, and it's right there.
Blazing, blinding light that was just right in front of him. And then he talks about holiness.
Right. And he says at one point that we are not called to be lukewarm or, in a sense, dim or average human beings. We are called to be holy.
Now, it is interesting that he equates light with holiness, holiness with light. So that's where we're at so far. Let's hear what else Sean has to say about his near-death experience.
Let's take a listen.
Okay.
And his hand was reaching down to me, and it was an angel. Sorry. And my hand just reached up and grabbed its hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm going to reach up there and grab his hand, and this hand is going to save me, because that's all that I saw was just a hand. And as soon as I touched its hand, we were all motionless and all standing back up on this ground that you can't see. And this beast, this demon, it still had me by the shoulder. It was kind of almost even leaned over a little bit to grab me by the shoulder. And and I'm just standing there staring up, looking at this angel. And the angel itself, to describe it for you, was 9 feet 6 inches tall. It had brown wavy hair pushed to the back. It had an olive color skin. It wasn't really white, it wasn't really black, it was somewhere in between, but the light that was emanating from within it was so bright white that it almost practically overshadowed the color of its skin. You couldn't even really, you had to stare to see the color of its skin. And although the body is shaped like a he, okay, it's shaped like a male, when you look at its face, the face is like the most handsome man that you've ever seen, blended in perfectly with the most beautiful woman that you've ever seen. I mean, when you look at this angel, you think to yourself, wow, he is beautiful. And its eyes were blue, and when I mean blue, I mean perfect blue, like someone took a portion of the sky and put it in its eyes, or dipped a cup out of the ocean and poured it into its eye. There was no flaw in it. This angel was there to fight, and I'm looking up at it, and I'm just blown away by its brightness and its beauty. And at the same time, I'm just frozen in place. And this thing, I can feel its anger, this demon's anger, like heat from a fire. And it turns around like this to see what had stopped it and why. It wanted to know what had stopped it and why. But as it whipped around, this angel its speed was incredible. And it just rushed forward and with an open palm hit this demon. And it had to angle its arm upwards at about the height of its head to hit this demon in the chest. And it hit this demon with such power. I mean, I can't describe the fierceness of the power of this thing. But it hit this demon with such force that its hand was literally ripped from my shoulder. It had no clue what had hit it. By the time it had even turned its head, it was already hit. And this demon was hit with such force that it literally folded up and started flying backwards, folded in half like this, flying backwards. The angel looked at me and he called me by a long name. And I immediately understood it to be mine. It was a heavenly name. But as soon as it called me this name, it took it from my mind. It called me this name to let me know that, more or less, that I still have a chance to make it into heaven. You know, like, I have a heavenly name. I squandered it. I wasted it. But when he called me this long name, it was a feeling of home. And he looks at me and he says, "Hello, my name is Michael." And I immediately knew that this was the Archangel of the Bible that spoke of the Archangel Michael. But anyway, he said, he began to speak to me. "If you're going to get me out of here, please get me out of here." You know, and this is what I was literally thinking, you know, and he just looked at me and he gave me a saddened look. And he looked at me and he just goes, "Your time has not yet come. It's time for you to go." And he points his finger, and when I stepped in that direction, my soul immediately went back to my body. Just as fast as I had appeared in this place, I left this place, and I was back in my body, laying on that cot where I knew I should have, my eyes opened. And
Alrighty, so we just heard Sean talk about the size of the demon that had him. That was what he said, 13 feet or something?
13 feet plus.
13 feet, huge. His hands were claws over his shoulders, draped out, and his fingers, its claws emanated or draped over his shoulder all the way down, and that he had no light whatsoever, totally
It's
devoid.
totally dark, dragging him off to hell. And that's when he sees this light that we talked about.
That comes
way
down.
off. It looked like a star in the distance.
And it comes and it appears to him as a light, as an angel. And out of this light, a hand is presented to him. And
Right.
automatically, without his thought, his conscious thought, his hand reaches up and grabs the hand of this angel, who he determined was an angel.
Right, and then he begins describing the angel, and it's almost beyond description. He says the light is so bright, it's almost incomprehensible, although he does describe the angel's face, and that he has a man's face, and it's a very handsome man's face, but it's also very feminine. If it was a woman, the angel would be quite beautiful, blue eyes. The angel, he felt, Sean said the angel was here to fight, and he feels this demon's anger, but the angel ends up hitting the demon.
His hand goes up. The demon's so big that this angel Michael puts his hand about the level of his head and hits the demon in the chest, and the demon goes flying back. So right there you could see that Michael was not intimidated or concerned or had any type of thought of being fearful of this demon, where Sean was totally petrified by him, basically.
Right, and the demon is 9 feet plus tall, but
No, 13.
Michael,
13. Michael was 9.
Yeah, right, thank you. Yeah, the demon is 13 feet plus in height, but Michael's only 9 feet plus in height, so Michael physically appears to be smaller.
And so how we know that he is Michael, we jumped over that.
Yeah.
He said, "I am Michael. My name's Michael."
Hello, my name is Michael. I think
And
it's
so
beautiful.
then Sean immediately correlated that to Archangel Michael in the Bible, and then described how beautiful he was, as David was commenting. And then by contrast, the calmness and the peace and the beauty of Archangel Michael compared to the demon, who was in fire of anger that was emanating from him. The contrast couldn't be greater. And so when Archangel Michael hit him on the chest, he went back. And so this is...
He folds in half. and
folds
goes
like a
flying
cartoon
backwards,
character, like
yeah.
you see in a cartoon. But what is interesting here is that Archangel Michael is just totally calm, totally peaceful, and totally focused on Sean, where Sean's saying, if you're here to get me out of here, please. Sean was still wrapped up in fear. So I guess what I'm saying here is that Archangel Michael, as being a being in heaven, there is no fear. There is no anxiety.
No fear.
There's
And Archangel Michael kind of, and when Sean is expressing anxiety about still being there, still feeling his experience, Michael just says, your time has not yet come. He points his finger, and all of a sudden, Sean is back in his cot.
back in his cup. But before that, what have we learned about light with this whole
Well,
thing?
what I learned, at least from his description, using some of his words, is that he's talked about 3 levels of light. The complete, absolute darkness of hell, even when the demon shows up, and then the dim light that he sees radiating after first observing everything's totally black around him. He finally sees a dim light is coming from himself, and that's all contrasted. The very dark of the darkness, the dim light of an average human being, a lukewarm human being, and then all of a sudden the blindingly bright and beautiful light of an angel that appears and comes up to him very suddenly. So it's kind of like we may have some choices that we can make.
We have some choices now. As Sean said, he was just an average person with dim light.
And it goes back to dim and dimmer here.
So what he was almost implying is that you could have more light, but he had less light. So we are going to end up this video here and tease you so that the next video you will find out, as we find out together, how to increase light in your being so that, heaven forbid, and not for this reason only. But heaven forbid, if you were found yourselves in a near-death experience in hell, you would know how to invoke more light, have more light, or even have more light before, and so you wouldn't go down to hell.
Or even the instantaneous intercession of Archangel Michael.
So, what could have Sean done more?
Wait till our next episode. You're going
Stay
to find
tuned.
out some very
Stay
simple, beautiful, fun techniques that you can learn quickly, and you'll have them available to you every day, any day you need them.
Until then, we say, happy trails to you.
Let me say